As we start our first assignment, in our Canvas page, you'll see the assignment sheet, and it says see course outline, and our course outline is updated. And you can see that. It should say, Spring 17 as the course file. And this project is due on February 6th. It's in red. That's when we critique assignment 1, which means in order to get a grade other than 0 on your assignment, you have to have something with your name on it uploaded to PhotoBucket by midnight on February 6th. Preferably in the beginning of class on February 6th so we can critique it. It's different than an exercise because it's worth 3 points, and these are the different criteria. So if you turn something in by the deadline, but you don't meet all the requirements in that assignment sheet, that it has to be one large fantasy landscape that is a resolution of no fewer than 300 pixels per inch at 8 by 10 inches or larger, and that it uses 5 reference images or more, no fewer than 5 reference images, and that it combines them in a believable way. These are the requirements. If you don't meet those requirements, so say you put up a fantasy landscape that combines 2 things, the most you can get on that is 1 point, right? And then I'll write a nice comment saying how well you combine those 2 things, what you can improve upon, but that in order to meet the requirements, you need to use more. 2 points is that you meet all the requirements, but I know that you can do more. I know that you can do better. I know that you can refine it, make it a portfolio project. So this is largely based on your own comfort and how much you're challenging yourself to have kind of a finish over the whole project. And you don't get a 3 on your first project very easily because it takes time to really build and improve upon something. But once something that was initially turned in by the deadline meets all the requirements and fully, as I say here, engages the viewer as art, makes us see it as something worthy of our attention, excites us, and really gets us to take it seriously because you've put a lot of care and craft into it, then that's when you get 3 out of 3 points. Now, here's the beauty of it. As long as you turn something in by the deadline, even if it's just a picture of your dogs posing as a fantasy landscape, then you'll have the option to turn it in again before the end of the class and get a new grade. Because most work happens in stages. And to really improve upon something, I want you to be able to take my comments, take the comments from your group, take your own reflection as you get better and better at practicing these skills, which we'll be practicing a lot. And then you'll be able to make your first assignment spectacular. So you'll always be able to get a new grade, as long as you've met the original deadline with something. Any questions about that? All right, so that is important, and that matches with professional practice. You can see past student examples within our course PhotoBucket. You can see my past uploaded instructor demonstrations. And then also with our YouTube page, you can see this assignment. You're just looking for assignment 1, past playlists from previous semesters. Because I'll always do something a little different each semester. So you can really get a lot of information about this procedure. So how do we start doing a fantasy landscape? Well, we start by doing a sketch, just like we see in the past student work. And I'm going to ask you to do 2 sketches to submit, one that is horizontal and one that is vertical. But before you can sketch, you need to collect reference. Each of these little numbered boxes refers to different reference items they want to use, other people's pixels. And they need to be high quality, so they're going to need to be 10 megapixels or more. So when we do a Google image search, let's say I do mountains. I want mountains in mind. I don't want to just take any image of mountains. I want to do the tools, and I want to limit the size to be larger than 10 megapixels. And there's going to be a lot of screensavers and things of mountains. But I don't want to just start looking at mountains. I want to try to have a vision before I even start searching for things of what I want. So in your sketchbooks, go ahead and get them out and something to sketch with. First, we just have to give ourselves some criteria. So, when you're thinking of a fantasy landscape, not only are you thinking of the different attributes of that landscape, you might be thinking of the type of environment, the climate, the atmosphere, the temperature, right? So I want you guys to suggest some things, because I don't like to repeat myself too much. So first, give me a climate. Okay, so we have one suggestion, cold. Anyone else feel strongly? Okay, now give me, what does the flora look like? What kind of vegetation? And yes, I'm going to force vegetation into a cold climate. Pine trees. Okay. Trees. Dead. Okay, what else? What about the time of day? Morning. See, we're like an improv troupe. Okay, now give me a food. Acorn. Acorn, all right. I did have a challenge last time of trying to fit like a food element into it. So I used like a crumbled brownie as one of my rocks. But that's optional. Okay, so I have a cold climate, pine trees, morning. Now, that doesn't seem very fantasy yet, though. So give me a fantasy element. What would you not expect to see on a cold morning with dead pine trees? But I can't have people. Stars. Okay, so we're going to have kind of a different kind of view of the stars. Clearer than normal. Maybe the stars are different colors. How about that? Colorful stars. With the lunar eclipse, okay. Yeah, so we're going to see the moon. And remember, this doesn't need to be the planet Earth. So we could have 6 lunar eclipses. So that's our fantasy element. Okay, notice that doesn't make any visual decisions for me, right? These are all content decisions. All the formal decisions are up to me. But immediately, I'm going to start thinking, okay, what are the elements now that I need to meet this? So I need starry sky. And I find it helpful to kind of make these notes in my sketchbook so I can return to it. I need a forest that's dead. I need stuff that shows cold. So ice obviously shows cold. Snow, glaciers, frozen lakes. These are elements I might think about searching for, looking for. Icicles. I don't think I spelled that right. Let's see. It's morning, so I'm going to have a sunrise and clouds, the kind of colors of sunrise. So that should be easy enough to find large photos of. And then with the acorns, it's getting to be a little bit too much like the opening of an Ice Age movie. So, I don't know. That will be a question mark. But then I'll leave the lunar eclipse. Yeah, I'm thinking kind of the quality of rocks I want. So maybe rocks, seeds, maybe they'll look kind of alien. That's maybe where the acorn can come in. Yeah. So like abnormally scaled. Because that's another way you can make things fantasy. You make small things large, make large things small. So that's just my notes page. And honestly, that's what you need to do and get kind of direction on before you can start looking for reference, before you can start sketching. So I'm going to widen out my sketch paper here. And on this side, I'm going to start doing my sketches once I have reference. But this helps inform me. And you can just do this in your sketchbook. What am I going to look for? Now I'm going to think I'm up high in the mountains. What is my elevation? And I like to have, I mean, it could be a flat desert, but I'd rather, for my visual taste, make it a little bit more exciting visually. Give myself different elevations. So I'm going to first look up icy mountains. And then because there are so many mountains to be found, even at 10 megapixels or bigger, I might be able to put something in like morning, because this is morning light. And yet I want to avoid references that are not very clear. So if it's like in dark silhouette, that's going to be less helpful to me than if it's really sharp. Because I can always change the color of it, I can change the lighting of it. And then off to the side here, I'm going to make a little folder that's named after my search term. And I'm going to get more reference than I need. And these just aren't as dramatic as I want, so I'm going to change from mountains to glaciers. Icy glacier morning. And a lot of these are a little too zoomed in, but this is beautiful. I'm right-clicking and then opening links in new tabs. I'm avoiding things with images that are supposed to, that look like they're moving. So no images with people in them. I'm grabbing a lot. I always tend to look for things that look weird too. So these are they're like mountain forms, but they're glaciers. They look unexpected. So I'm drawn to them. Okay, so lots and lots of reference. Now I've opened them all up. Before this gets too crazy, I go to each one and I go to view image in their own window and I see if it's actually a high quality image. And what I'm really looking for is pretty sharp focus throughout. Crisp, clean use of the pixels. So it hasn't been distorted or resized. And that one looks good. I can drop that in my folder and then close that. That's the same one. And it's worth it to take the time to view the image. That's that morning light, but I can actually change the temperature very easily. There are people, but that's not the part of it I would likely use. So you determine if there's something useful to it, but I just love that silhouette with the sky. We'll see if I end up using it. So sometimes this happens. It will navigate you to wallpaper pages. And basically when they're on wallpaper pages, I just can't be bothered. The nice thing about using photos for these first projects is we live in a culture of people sharing their photos.